Hey, it's Frank here with 4D Honeybee, and today we're going to start our first honey extraction. Very excited about it. What we're going to do is we're going to go into the upper brood box of this hive here, hive number 2. It's getting to be honey bound. It has honey almost in 90% of the frames in that second brood box. So I'm going to take 2 frames out, take them home and process them, and then bring back the empty frame with combs still intact so they can build and hopefully build some more brood. It's middle July. They've been doing pretty well. They haven't gone into the honey super yet. Haven't built anything in there yet. It's been on for a couple of weeks. So we'll make some room in that second brood box. Maybe they'll build up some more brood, and maybe not. We'll see. Okay, so I'm going to steal 2 frames of honey here. I checked it a couple of days ago, and it had quite a few frames of completely capped honey. Probably expect to see more activity in the honey super up here too, because I removed the queen excluder, so it should make it easier for them to come up. So hopefully they're starting to work on that, but I'll try to leave that intact. I'll have a quick look at it. Oh yeah, there's lots of bees up here now. Gonna get some smoke going on these guys. What I'm only going to do with this honey super is just set it aside exactly as it is. There's lots of bees in there, which is great, but I'm not really interested in this super at all today. This is the frame I'm interested in, or the box I'm interested in. I'm going to take the N2 frames out and just try and look for the queen on them, and just try and drop the bees. I should pull up my fly. I actually felt a bee right there. That's not a good thing. There we go. Pull out these 2 end frames, which are completely capped with honey, and those are what I'm going to take, and then I'll bring them back tomorrow and replace them. So let's see how it goes. I'm just going to try and drop the bees right back on the hive, and then put them in a nuke box that I have here for transport. Hopefully that'll get rid of most of them before I stick them in my car. These are really tightly in there. They're really drawn out well. Honey's just pouring out of it already. So again, I'll have a quick look for the queen on here. I don't expect her to be here. It weighs a lot, so it's in great shape. You can have a look at it. It is 99% capped honey on both sides. There's a bee on my glove trying to sting me here. Or maybe she's injured, hard to tell. Okay, resume looking for the queen. Just concentrating on the job at hand. Get rid of these bees. There's not too many bees on this frame, so that's good. Their work is mostly done here, so let's see if I can get rid of them in a couple of pushes. Still plenty of bees on it, so I'll try a couple more times. Wow, it's so heavy it's hard to get any kind of decent momentum going down. So just going to try and brush off the rest of them. The rest of them actually have their faces right in honeycombs, so they're trying to pull honey out because of the smoke job, I guess. Finally using this bee brush. I hadn't used it all season long, so I'd considered it a waste of money, but a couple more to get out. Go away, you go away, go away, go away. Left part of one stuck in a honeycomb here. Take a look at the top left corner there near the brush, you can see part of a bee. So I'm going to put this away, put the lid on, and go for the next one. Alright. More smoke. I'm finding that this is, I think this is week 7 or 8 of having bees, probably closer to 8. And they aren't as patient as they used to be. They used to let me work the hives pretty well without even needing to smoke them much. But now, as soon as you get, halfway through an inspection of the first brood box, there's bees coming up to bite you. So I guess I would too if I were bugging them, being bugged as much as I bug these bees. So I try never to open them more than once a week. And even when I do, I basically alternate inspections so that it's only every 2 weeks that I'm actually taking a really close look at a hive and getting that far into it. So just to let them do their work as much as possible. Okay, let's see if this frame comes out a little more readily than the first. Really try and get a good grip on them so I don't slip. There we go. Here's another frame. Well, you know what? We're not going to take this frame. It's 100% capped on this side. But on this side, they're still working on it. It's only about 60%, well, 50-60% capped. So I'm going to leave that one out for now. And then we'll try and find another frame in here that is 100% capped. Because I know there is. I saw a couple of them. And that's what we're after at this point. Well, that's 100% capped. And that's 100% capped. So this is the one we'll take. Have a look at this one. It's beautiful. Oh, it's just a little hole there in the middle, but we'll take that anyway. Well, maybe I'll look at the next one and see if it's 100%. Yeah, they're just finishing it off. So I'll just check one more out, and if it's closer to 100%, then I'll take that one. Yeah, this side looks better. That side looks pretty good too. Very freshly capped. Okay, so I will take this one. Then I'll have a look for the queen here. Just because I don't want to bother her with a big flush job on these bees. You can see the ones buzzing around my head. Those ones are trying to sting. There's no doubt. Pretty good job. I'll just grab the brush now and finish it off with the brush. if we're clear, put it in the box here. We'll reset up the hive, and we have our first extraction of honey. Okay, so there's the extractor. I just have to finish cleaning it up and getting rid of all the packaging and plastic on it to get it ready to extract. I got 2 frames of honey here that I'm going to extract for the first time. And we'll go through the whole process of how we decap it and spin it, and hopefully we'll get some nice honey out of it. Okay, so here's the extractor cleaned up and ready to go. I got this in off eBay for 150 bucks. You can see it's a 2-frame extractor. There's where the frames go. And the cheapest, that was 150 US. The cheapest you can get it up here in Canada that I found is like 375 Canadian plus tax. So it's well over 400 bucks. So it's probably 2/3 the price. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually weigh the empty frames with my fish scale here. And then I will weigh the frames that I'm going to extract before and after, and weigh how much honey has come out. Just for fun, just to see what it's like. Because I mean, when you grab a frame full of honey, you can tell the weight difference. It's really significant, so it'd be nice to know. Okay, so this is what I'm going to use to decap it. So it's just a roller, obviously, that punches holes in the cells. I want to return these frames right back to the hive tomorrow. So I want them to build out, it's middle of July, so I want them to build out these frames again and either decide to put brood or honey in them. So I figured the easiest way to do it with doing the least damage is this. I'm going to try it and see how it works. So all you basically do is you run the roller over the frame and you punch holes in all the cells. Right? Have a nice close-up of that, Nigel. You can see the difference between the uncapped stuff and the stuff I've just run over at once. I'll run over it a few times and I'll go through each direction so that I know that it's all punctured. And then the frames go into the extractor. I weighed both frames, and one frame, the skinny frame, which is the other one, weighed 6.5 pounds. So there's 6 pounds of wax and honey on there. This one weighed 10.5 pounds. It's built out quite a bit wider. So that means we're going to have an imbalance in the machine, and it's going to want to wobble a lot, which is okay. We kind of expected that. So we'll just be prepared for that and do the best we can. Okay, cut it there, Nige, and the next film will be when we insert these into the extractor. Okay, so we've put the frames into the spinner here, and I'm really happy with how that tool decapped the combs here. You can see that it's punctured holes all the way through. You just basically go through vertically and then horizontally and make sure you get them all. And I think that it'll result in a minimum amount of wax falling into the honey there, because you haven't actually removed any wax, you've just kind of punctured it and pushed it off to the side. Now, so one frame weighs 10.5 pounds, the other frame weighs 6.5 pounds, so I have no doubt this thing's going to really wobble itself when we get it up to speed. But my son Nigel's going to do the cranking, and I'm going to do the holding, and hopefully we'll be able to show you some honey spinning out of these guys really soon. We've got to spin it in one direction. We're going to spin for about 10 minutes, and then we'll flip them around and spin in the other direction so we get both sides of each frame extracted. Okay? Just start nice and slow, and we'll see how she goes. Already see honey spinning off of it, hitting the sides. It's working. Keep the speed coming up, Nigel. And we'll keep going as fast as we can until it really starts to wobble, okay? Whoa. Okay, so I'm going to have to hold this. So I'm going to stop filming for a bit so I can hold this so we can do it properly. Okay, so we spun one side, and it came out really well. There's a bit of damage to one of the frames. I don't know if we can see it here. and I think it just was a weak point in the frame. But I'll fix what I can of that, and then the bees will fix the rest, I'm sure. It's actually over on this side. You might be able to see it right down in there. No, you can't. But anyway, the spinner worked really well. We found that we could get it up to good speed where the honey was just flying out of it, and then it would start to lose control because of the with the weight difference in the frames. That was bound to happen. So I'll just give it a bit of a spin here, and you'll start to see honey starting to smack against the sides of the drum there. So if you just keep up a speed like this, now this is just me without anybody holding it, you can see it'll do a good job of extracting the honey. But naturally we wanted to push it to see how far it could go. If it gets a little faster than this, it starts to wobble quite a bit. We'll see the final product in a second. So now that we've flipped the frames around, there's a lot less weight in there. I guess there's a much lesser weight differential. So now you can get an idea of how fast we can spin this to get all the honey out without it falling apart. So I'm pretty happy with this spinner. It's worked pretty well. One thing that has happened is one of these stoppers let go. See this thing right here? Let go of its little plastic bumper there. So that's sitting in the bottom of the honey pot. We'll have to get that out when we extract it and put a new bolt on, a new nut on it, make sure the nut doesn't end up in our honey. But that's about the only flaw that we've had, and that's easily fixable. So far I'd have to say this extractor has been very successful, especially since it was 150 US as opposed to the 400 that I'd buy it for here in Canada. Now I'm going to let this whole thing sit out in the sun for a while to let it finish dripping, and then I will let it sit overnight before I transfer it to another bucket with the filter. I'll use one of those paint filter cloths, and then from that bucket into the jars for consumption. It's a really light colored honey. You can see some of it here. It's July, it's early July, so I don't know if that makes a difference, but you can see from here that it actually almost looks clear, and it tastes delicious, so I'm really happy with it. So 14.2 pounds were extracted out of those two frames. We're going to strain it down into this food grade bucket here, and then let it sit for a day and bottle it after. Hopefully some of that wax will settle out of it. A lot of wax did come through, and as you can see, there's also a visitor in there that we want to strain out. So hopefully we'll be bottling by this time tomorrow. 14.2 pounds came out of those two frames, which I was very impressed with. I was surprised it was that much. A lot of wax came out too because I sat this thing out in the sun, and then when I spun it really fast, and a lot of basically because it was so hot, a lot of the wax came off the frame. So my bad, I learned, but I'm really happy with how this extractor worked. So this is the second last and last step. We restrained the honey out of this container in through there. You can see we used the cheesecloth and then the strainer, just because we did have a lot of wax that made it into the first round there because we didn't strain it. A lot of wax came off the frames, and then we just poured it more or less freehand from that bowl down there, and we ended up with this being our take of honey. You can see it's very clear, but just gorgeous. It tastes amazing. So it's kind of on the light side. Maybe that's because it's spring, I'm not sure, but we're very happy with our first extraction. And thanks for joining Frank at 4D Honeybee. It's mid to late July, and we're hoping we'll get another real extraction of honey from the supers before the season's up.